Hey folks, good morning. Phillip Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. Remember folks, like and share this everywhere. You could be here with me or you could be somewhere else, but I'm glad you're here today. We're going to start this off with, we're going to get into a couple of things. But one of the things I'm going to tell you about is don't ignore the ignorance. Don't ignore the people who are ignorant of your success. Don't ignore the people who are ignorant in the fact that they are hateful, deceitful, jealous, resentful of your success. Don't ignore it. The biggest mistake I've ever made is what I call letting snakes into the camp. You know, people who try to teach you something by punishing you, and they're not there to help you succeed. They're there, and I've said that before in many of my other videos, is that they're there to take away. They show you that they will bite you the first chance they get. They're not there to enjoy your success. They're not there to help propel your success. They're here to judge your success. They're here to see whether you're going to make it or not, and be the ones to be right there to kick you while you're down. They're not offering helpful advice. They're offering advice which inadvertently will lead to you being unsuccessful, no matter how honest you are with them or in life, or you treat them well. They're always going to have a problem with something you're doing or not doing because you're not living up to their so-called expectations. And those expectations could be you need to do more or you need to fail. Sometimes their expectations are you're not living up to their intended failure for you, not being successful, or you're too independent, you don't require them. And the sad part about it is that these might be people you actually look up to. These might be people that you look up to, and you at one point decided you were trying to be like them, or you wanted to emulate them, or you wanted to, follow them. I'll give you a quick example of that. When Allen Iverson, the former NBA basketball player for the Philadelphia 76ers, he grew up idolizing Michael Jordan, like idolizing him. And what more could a person aspire to in life than to actually play against their actual idol? And in the moment that he played against Jordan, he was still awestruck with playing against his idol. And, this is the way it supposedly goes, but Jordan, went into his aggressive, he was treating him as another ball player. And in that moment, Allen Iverson kicked back into being a competitive baseball player. He no longer saw Jordan as the idol standing in front of him. What he saw was an obstacle to overcome. And that is one of the reasons why I say you cannot ignore people's ignorance. Because I read something somewhere where it talked about people who were not there to see you struggle. People who were not there to understand what you struggle, what you went through in order to get to these so-called successes or these outcomes, which obviously are palatable and achievable. Were the people who actually see your success, they're able to have some measure. They're able to see that you have a community or you're providing services to other people, that you are being a beneficials to groups. You're becoming a person of wealth or power, or you're accumulating both wealth and power. And they seem to always forget what the work that you had to put in, and they're not proud of your work. They're proud of the outcome. They're ignorant to how much, let me rephrase that. They're not proud of your outcome. They're resentful of your outcome. They're resentful of the success that you've achieved. They're resentful of the fact that you have an air of confidence about yourself and you have the ability to make decisions that might be counter to their suggestions. Dude, what the hell are we doing here, man? Are you going to drive? Goodness gracious. Okay, so he's gonna be driving. Okay, well, he's 90 years old, so we'll give him a pass. DMV, what are you doing, man? These people, they're going to end up hurting somebody because they're driving slower than molasses. Thank God it's summer. Bless his heart, too. Maybe I'm just an impatient young person. Any which way. The old man deserves to drive. Everybody deserves to drive. Even if you're driving at, 15 miles an hour. But all right. They're resentful of your success. And you have to ask the question, did they ever believe you were going to really be successful in the first place? So you take a chance, you go out on a limb. And again, I'm going to preface this because a lot of people, and I found out, a lot of people don't play it straight, man. A lot of people, they've adopted wicked ways in order to become successful. And when you're a straight shooter, when you play it straight, and you begin to peel back the layers on how people make it, you see that sometimes they're talking out both sides of their mouths, man. I've seen some shady things done with people who are supposedly, on a straight and narrow path, or, they're supposed to be playing it straight, and you can see them cutting a lot of corners, man. That's something I really have a hard time struggling with, but I keep my mouth shut. But I'm going to tell you is that I played it straight the whole time. And that might bother some people because I didn't cut corners. When I didn't have to try to get around or do certain things to kind of to get ahead. I never had to sacrifice my integrity when people say I'm not a good person or I'm not this because of that, but I play it straight. I can hold my head up high and say I've never had to fake it until I made it. I've never had to show more, but I had less. I never had to proclaim to be more than I wasn't. And when I didn't have it, I didn't have it. I remember having a conversation with my father who was telling me about buying a home a couple years ago, which is good advice. That's good. And every father should be, as a grandparent, that you can't fault a person for wanting you to see and have more. Never in my mind would I ever fault him for that. But I, disagree with him. I told him I did not have the funds. Again, you got to remember, in my land business supported my lifestyle. And I'm not, and as lifestyle creep happens, if anybody understands what lifestyle creep is, the amount of inflation that's eating away at your income, you have to look at your finances. And again, I showed my father my finances. I opened up all my books, my debts, and I did not have enough saved to live at an area where a 3-bedroom, 2-bath was, $1 million. And that's how much they're going for. And the prices creep up, but so do the property taxes, so do the amount of maintenance, so does everything else that's associated with owning a home. And one thing that I think my father and I disagreed on the mostly, that is something fundamental that he taught me that goes against his instructions, because the base point of education was to understand your capabilities and limitations. Do your homework. And sometimes that means that when I do my homework and he does his suggestions, they don't match up. And I simply ask people, okay, well, if you give me advice, then show me where this could manifest and happen. And when people take a step back and say, well, you got to figure it out, then they're just giving you suggestions and advice. It's not actually a plan or a merit, because if I'm already planning and I can see that I can't do it, then there's nothing else we need to discuss, because I simply cannot do it. And it's not because I won't try, it's because I've already done the planning and the work to see that the numbers don't match up. And that's the problem today. You got a lot of people getting in over their head, and then they get into the situation and they realize that, yeah, you're eating peanut butter sandwiches because you cannot afford the lifestyle. What your hunger and your stomach capacity do not match. You're eating more than what your stomach can hold. And I don't always need to buy because I'm fear of missing out. What I focus on is making sure our lifestyle can be supported. And sometimes that puts you at odds with people. And then other times you can assess people's ignorance is based upon they're ignorant to your situation, and they're speaking from their own. They're looking from their own achievements and their abilities and not assessing that my advice to a 20-year-old needs to be with consideration of a 20-year-old's lifestyle. And the same goes for a 60-something-year-old to a 40-year-old. We have different lifestyles. Somebody's on the back end of life and another person is right through the middle. So the priorities are different. And my priorities are different. Your priorities will be different in what you aspire to, whether you have a family or not. The goals and things that you prioritize, if they are being achieved, those things should be the merits by which people judge you off of. But that seldom happens. So what do? Like I said, you cannot ignore the ignorance of other people. When you are trying to build and achieve, you're trying to establish something that's going to lead you to a better outcome, and people have nothing but they're going to add load to your cart. That's a euphemism, just meaning that what they're going to do is add more weight. They're not going to take off any weight. And if they don't feel like they have to do anything to help, then they probably should shut the fuck up, right? Or sit back and just be happy to be present around someone who is trying to achieve greatness. Because opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got them. So I'm going to leave you with that, folks. Do not ignore people's ignorance. Be resolute in your determination to succeed. And don't let snakes into your camp. Because what do snakes do? You've heard it before. They always end up biting you. I hope you've gotten something out of this video, folks. I hope you've been educated, enlightened, entertained. I am your host, Phillip Davis. Remember, go to Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. You can find us on social media. A link to my book, Getting Dollars from Dirt, is in the description section below. You can find it on Amazon. Help support me in my journey to educate people on understanding vacant land ownership and all that it entails. Thanks again, folks. Like, share, subscribe. Remember, folks, if you don't own property, you'll be owned as property. Phil Davis, take care, and I'm out. Peace.